Hi, on the Woodpecker today. 'Tis the season to make wooden padlocks. And this year again, I'm making another combination padlock. For several years now, I've been making wooden padlocks as Christmas gifts. Each time, it's a different design. Here's the model I made last year. Like all the others, I've started by designing it with SketchUp. This way, I have a good idea if it will work. When I'm done, I open Aspire and import the file. It allows me to have all the layers on my working canvas. Since I want to make the rings from scratch, I delete them. Then I move all the layers closer together. All the different parts are on different layers. The exterior profile, the aligning holes, the big holes, and the pocket for the shackle. I also put all that will be burned by the laser. This is what the two plaques will look like. But I need more than just this. I also need some rings. I designed them directly with Aspire. I don't use what I did with SketchUp. This is what the rings will look like. But I still need a shackle. It's also completely designed with Aspire, from the measurements I took from my original design. The shackle will be cut from both sides of the plywood. This is what they will look like. All this is great, but I need to test it in real life. So I cut my first plaque and also laser burn it. That's when I realized that I should remove some details from the padlock. Only this takes more than 10 minutes, and for something that will end up in the wood stove after all the parts are removed, it's ridiculously long. I also tested the back burning. For my first test, I also need to cut 3 rings. For this, I use an odd-shaped piece of plywood. But my router bit doesn't cut very well. I have one coming my way in the mail. I never had this before. Nope, I won't vacuum the dust. But even putting the dust on the concrete floor isn't too reassuring because it's still smoking. I don't take any chances and throw it outside. To finish my test, I sand it a little. It's only after removing all the pieces that I realize that all the holes are too small. This is useless. I make the holes bigger and cut another plaque. I even do the laser part with its new padlock design. Finally, I can remove all the pieces. Now it's possible to assemble the padlock. I can see that this is probably the easiest of my padlocks to assemble so far. Figuring out the combination is easy. I just align all the slots at the front. But I need some numbers. So I go back to Aspire and design the numbers in a rotary job. Now I can burn the numbers. I don't use my 4-axis very often, but I'm glad I made it. To make a complete test, I need a shackle. So I cut one. This is not very fast. I begin by cutting some holes and some pockets with a straight bit. I changed to a round over bit and cut the exterior of the shackle on one side. Then into my spoil board, I drill the aligning holes. Next, I put some small length of dowels inside those holes and align the plywood over the dowels. When I'm sure this won't move, I can cut the other side. This is my first shackle. I still need to get it out of there. If you are asking yourself what was the usefulness of the pockets, well, they only serve to figure out where to cut the shackle. On this cut, I didn't adjust the Z height at the right position. I have a little bit of rasping to do. I will be more careful next time. When I'm done, it's time to try this. It's perfect. It's starting to look like a padlock. But the shackles don't lock for now. So I cut 3 pieces of dowels and put them in place. Here it is, my first padlock. But there are a couple of things that I don't like. So I make some more modifications and cut another test. After assembling it, I'm super satisfied. Okay, it was only small modifications. The top holes were too big, and I've added an arrow to point to the combination numbers. But to give some as presents, I need to switch to production mode now. So on my plaque, I cut 2 padlocks at once. While the CNC is cutting the padlocks, I can take care of all the small pieces of dowels. After several hours, I have a dozen padlocks. But it's not over yet. I sand all of them with a grain of 220. Put the laser on the CNC and burn the front. No, it's not very fast. About 20 minutes on this side. A couple more minutes, then cutting it. But it's not done. I still have the other side to burn, and this side takes almost the same amount of time. So after almost a full day, all the plaques are done. But I'm not done yet. I still have the shackles to cut. But this time around, I cut a dozen at once. To make sure it's flush to the table, I begin by drilling some holes where I know the bit won't cut. After chamfering them, I screw some brass screws. Then it's possible to cut 12 shackles. But unfortunately, the PC froze before the job was finished. I only have 8 usable shackles. While I cut the shackles free, the CNC cuts some rings. When they're all free, I need to sand them a bit. Meanwhile, the CNC is still cutting rings. Okay, I went a bit overboard and cut 5 dozen rings. I need to free them also. I have a lot of work to do on those rings. Since there's still some usable space on the plywood I've used, the CNC is cutting even more rings. Meanwhile, I'm still sanding them. I now have 80 of them. Now I need to burn the numbers on each of them. To save time, I make a jig that can hold several rings. When the jig is done, I can slip 21 of them on it and put it on my 4th axis. But this time, I add the back support. And it's a go. When one ring is done, I move the laser to the next one and burn another one. I do that 20 times. Then I put a new set of rings on the jig and keep on going. Now I have 80 rings. Plenty enough for my Christmas presents. And even for you if you want one. The very last thing to do is to cut the plaques in two. All done. I only need to give some as presents.
Ah, un nouveau cadenas. Un autre cadenas. Tu m'as pas réussi celui de l'année passée.
Now I still have to see if they will be able to go from this to this. No, they didn't even try. It's a shame because it's one of my easiest padlocks to assemble. On top of being easy to assemble, it looks good. I really like it. On top, I even added some small details, like those small indentations, so it will be more difficult to guess the numbers when you don't have the combination. This was my latest wooden padlock, which I made last year. Like I said before, if you're interested in buying one, send me an email. This video is the first one of the series of the Christmas presents I made last year. If you want to see the others, you'll have to come back to the Woodpecker.